Hey, Facebook. How are you doing today? Hey, welcome to the Ruby Girl Talk with Lisa Yvette Jones.
Hello.
She looks like an absolute queen tonight. I was like,
Mm.
I'm gonna have to really bring my best game because I know Lisa is gonna look like she just came from coming from America.
Oh
She is
my goodness.
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Hi, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm so awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I am really honored to be here and to engage with your audience and you.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. I am honored that someone of your magnitude would grace us. Y'all hear
Oh.
me? Y'all don't know how important this is.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You know what? I just said, let me just continue to do God's will and wherever that takes me. And if it landed me here, I am so thankful.
Amen. I'm so glad that you landed on my show tonight. Tonight, everyone, is going to be phenomenal. So let me introduce myself. I am Karen Dodd. I am your favorite Ruby girl, and I have a t-shirt line and a bra wallet line. Yes. So while I'm introducing doing my commercial, Lisa, just take your phone, share, go to my page and share with your people the video so they can watch it also on your page. Okay. So while I'm doing the commercial, first thing I want you to know is to please share this video. Share it, like it, give us some hearts, whatever you got to do. Just let us feel the love. And at the end of the show, we're going to look in the comments and see who commented. So if you comment, if you like, if you said something, I'm giving away again another Ruby Girl bracelet. This is a one
Wow.
of a kind bracelet. Isn't it pretty, Lisa?
Beautiful. You know, I love my jewelry.
Yes, Lisa is a jewelry girl. And
Oh,
so I will be giving this away. I'm just gonna randomly pick someone out of the who comment about the show. If you ask a question, if you have a question you want to ask, go ahead. Just put it in the comment section. At the end of the show, we're gonna go back, look through the comments. So share it, press that share button. The more people that's on here, the more can be blessed by her testimony. So, as I said, I sell a t-shirt. It's called a Ruby Girl t-shirt. And Lisa is a Ruby girl, y'all.
should have had on my Ruby Girl shirt. Oh my goodness.
That's okay.
Yes.
So this is the t-shirt. It says Ruby Girl is based on Proverbs 31 and 10, and it calls you a priceless princess because who can find a virtuous woman for her price is far above the price of a ruby. Ladies, y'all are so valuable. And then I also invented, in case you want to match all the way, the bra wallet. The bra wallet comes with this clip. It clips to your shirt, or you can clip it to your pants, or clip it inside your purse. Just clip it just like this to your shirt and it disappears. So you might say, well, Ruby Girl, is it really for me? Ruby Girl is a reset of your mindset. You become from a victim to a victor when you decide that you want to become that Proverbs 31, that virtuous woman, that one that has worth far above the price of a ruby, because you already are. You just have to reset your mind and become that Ruby girl. So tonight, hey, it's time. So Lisa, could you introduce yourself to my audience, please?
Yes, I am Lisa Yvette Jones, and I go by that Chief Encouragement, Inspirational, and Empowerment Coach, Counselor, and Consultant. And yes, best-selling author. I have two books actually that I have co-authored with amazing women. One of them is Fearless Women Rock, Courageous Women Finding Strength During Their Storm, and that one is a bestseller. And then also, wow, Women Overcome Through Writing. So as many of us who have written our stories on what it took to overcome writing. So it's called Wow. So the first book was compiled by Dr. Missy Johnson, and the second one was compiled by Jamie L. Washington. I am also the proud CCO, the Chief Caring Officer of I Care Leadership. Yes, I cultivate those authentic relationships to empower, and I teach other aspiring leaders and leaders who are within their first 3 years of leadership before they, start settling in those certain habits that may not make them as successful. I'm there to really help them transform and humanize the employee experience, head, hand, and heart. It is my absolute passion. I am also an 11-year and forever cancer conqueror. Get excited.
Lisa, that was the best introduction. I'm gonna have you just come on every week and introduce me. I felt your energy.
Thank you.
I felt that from the core of your soul, you are that caring leader. What you
I
call
am.
yourself, Chief Caring Officer?
So chief caring officer, yes, for I Care Leadership.
I love that. I
Thank
love that.
you.
You took those initials and you made it work for you. When I
I
tell you,
did.
Lisa is in sync with everything she do. Leadership just flows out of her. You know how you meet somebody and you be like, they have just become something. You have just become a leader. It's a part of you. You can't even separate it. I mean, when you walk in a room, you can look at you and tell there's something different
Oh,
about you. Because
thank
me
you.
and Lisa met at Lighthouse. Yes, like
Yes, yes.
Lighthouse Gospel. I hope I'm saying it right. I always forget Miss Jack Jones. Please don't hurt me. But we met when Lisa was doing a Mary Kay event there. And
Yes.
so we met there and we just clicked. It's like
Get it off.
we just hit it off. We've been friends
Yes.
ever since. It was something about her, the way her display, the clothes she had on, it was just royalty about her. You just
Oh,
knew
thank
it's
you.
something different about her. She's not like every woman that you meet. It's just something that makes you step back and say, this is royalty. I'm in the
Oh, my goodness.
presence of God's Holy Spirit. The anointing is truly upon your life. So,
Thank
Lisa,
you.
when did you know that leadership was your gift?
Ever since I was a little girl, really, it was just, I am the second eldest of 7 children. So my
Oh,
mother has 7, and I am like sister mom to my siblings. So there are 3 of us who, my oldest brother's 5 years older than me. Then it was me. 18 months later came my brother. So then for 6 years, there were no children. And then all of a sudden, my mother had my sister, a set of twins, and my baby brother all back to back. So we have these 2 groups here. And so for my younger siblings, I was like sister mom. And still to this day, I was, and still am to them. And so I had always taken the position of, if it needs to be done, do it. And my mother was that way. She said, you don't have to wait. So she really kind of catapulted me to leadership, because my mother was an entertainer. She was a professional singer. And her time, she used to open up for local acts like the Four Tops, the Temptations, and people like that. So she was their opening act. So I didn't realize my mother's celebrity status until I would go to friends' house and they would say, wait a minute, who's your mother? And then I would tell them who, and they were like, oh my gosh, Queenie B. And they would call their friends to come over and what have you. And it was like, okay, she's just my mom. But having younger siblings, I had to babysit. When the babysitter couldn't come over, when the babysitter I didn't think was doing like I felt they should do with my siblings. And my first active leadership role was at the age of 10. I became the local chapter's youth NAACP president at 10 years old. I was elected. So
wow.
that was my first real leadership position, because I always believed that I would carry the voices for people who couldn't carry it themselves. And so I was always saying, well, why don't the schools have this? And why did they shut down that recreation center? And why did they do this? And then my NAACP advisor said, well, why don't you just run for being the president of your youth chapter at 10 years old? And I held that position for 3 years.
That is amazing, Lisa.
Yeah.
When you was talking, what I was thinking? Why did she didn't go and become a politician? Because when you
So,
say you like to be the voice of those that basically don't have a voice, I
yeah.
can see you, Madam President.
Yeah. So many people did, and my actual formative years was grooming me for political involvement. It really was. Everything that I did was involved in politics. And 18, I became a deputy registrar, registering people to vote. I was always at city council meetings. At the age of 10, I had the book Parliamentary Procedures thrown at me. and told me to read it and learn it, because I had to know how to conduct myself at meetings, and, how to put emotion forth, how to second emotion, how to, really conduct myself at these council meetings. I was always working on someone's campaign. I was always asked to go door to door, and I love going door to door, knocking on people's door and selling my candidate. I really did. And one day I really thought, when I was like 17, 18, when I met Marie Farrell Donaldson, and I know I'm probably aging myself because she was the ombudsman for the city of Detroit. I thought she was the most classy woman ever. And I said, I want to be in her position. I want to be the ombudsman for Detroit. I worked on different campaigns, right alongside with Judge Greg Mathis, but that was before he was a judge. It was when he was actually going to law school at Wayne State. So I was groomed for that. But then I realized that everyone was grooming me for that. That's not what I really wanted. Then the people thought, well, maybe you should go to law school and be a lawyer. Well, that's not what I wanted either. I knew that there was going to be a way for me to carry the voices of people, and it was meant for me to carry the voices around the leadership table. And that's where it was.
You gotta know your
You have to know.
place.
Yeah.
Sometimes we end up a place because people have talked us into it.
Yeah.
You look like you people used to mistake me all the time for being a school teacher.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. So I
Amazing.
went back to school for my master's in teaching, but because my other degrees were in business, it was like I was starting over. And one day in class, I realized, I was like, you don't want to sit in class with 20 something kids all day long. You are a teacher, but you're not a classroom
There
teacher.
you go.
But I had to go through that experience in order to find out you're not a teacher like that. And I always used to wonder, I said, why, when I went back to college, I never thought about being a teacher, and I love teaching,
Yeah,
but teaching can be training. Teaching can be so many other
absolutely.
things. Yes. So I like the fact that you knew what lane you were supposed to be in. And you
Yeah.
stayed in that lane. You didn't let nobody put you in that left turn lane. You stayed in the lane that God has put you in. And that's what I love about you. Your
Thank
life is
you.
directed by God. You're not
Yeah.
fighting him. Because sometimes I hear people, God told me this, but me and him, we just, I ain't paying no attention to him. We just had an argument. God is speaking to you. That is a
Yeah.
blessing and giving you direction. So you can't argue with God, because he sees he's only telling you what's best for yourself. So you're a minister. Let me see if I
Yeah.
get all this. All right. Let me pull out the list.
Oh my goodness.
You are a minister, a
Yeah.
coach, a trainer, and more. How
Yeah.
did you become so awesome? You kind of gave us a little peek when you said that you learned a lot of things from your mother, but you have had so much training. So how did you become so awesome?
Well, I don't know about becoming so awesome. I think I'm still becoming. So, I appreciate you. Thank you so very much for wanting to put me there. But I was like, wow, how am I becoming so awesome? Well, let's just say I'm still becoming. I love Michelle Obama's becoming, because that's exactly what I'm still doing. And, I didn't always follow God's lead, because I felt that because I was talented and I could do things, do it. And when people would ask me, it was like, sure, I can do that. Sure, I can write a play. Sure, I can MC a show. Sure, I can do all of those things. All I knew is, from a little girl, whatever it is that I was supposed to do is going to be using my mouth, because I was that little kid that went from door to door speaking to everyone. My mother would call the neighbors and go, have you seen Lisa? That was back in the day when children could actually go into their neighbor's house and it was okay. You could be there for hours watching TV or helping them clean around the house, and nobody thought anything of it. And that's at least what I was able to do. So my mother would call one neighbor, they'll say, well, she just left here talking my ears off. And wait a minute, let me look out the door. Oh, there she is across the street. She has already made it across the street. So every time there was a prophecy over my life, it always had to do with my mouth. And I was always told, be careful of your words, because your words have power. People will be influenced by your words. And it was like, okay, that must be ministry. I don't know, but I'll let God tell me. And in 2009, June of 2009 is when he called me into the ministry. but I knew it was more. I love teaching. I'm like you. I love teaching. Fall is my favorite time of year. I go get school supplies. And listen, I have a warehouse here where people can actually come and shop from my home for school supplies because it was just awesome. They look at me and they think I'm a school teacher as well when I go into places, and I go, I'm not, but I do love teaching. It's an innate gifting. But God knew that I would be leading people. He knew that I would be gaining knowledge, loving the research, loving looking up information, and love giving that information back where it is easy to be explained and easy to understand for people, and then to be able to do it across, all types of mediums. So he knew that about me. So I love teaching. I love training. I love coaching. I'm also a counselor. I received my master's from Ashland Theological Seminary in counseling. So that's another thing too, that when people are struggling to get their voice out, or when people are struggling in their situations, then I knew that there was something that was in me that drew people to me, but I didn't really know what it was. And I ran from it for years. As a matter of fact, I kind of bootlegged when I started doing it because I had no credentials. So I was a bootleg counselor, and I call it that because, like I said, I had no official training. I just know that when people came in my presence and whatever God gave me, I gave to them, and they left feeling wonderful. They left feeling better. I will put it that way. And then I asked people before, what is it that's drawing you to me? They said, one person said, I see a light around you. Another person said, I'm just comforted when I'm with you. Another person said, I'm at peace when I'm with you. And that is exactly the area that God called me into in the ministry, that you will always direct people back to my peace. Jesus was wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities, and the chastisement or the punishment made necessary for our peace and wholeness was upon him. And with his stripes, we are healed. So I am to lead people back to that peace when they're in turmoil or when they're in distress. I am the one to point people back to what Jesus went through for them.
Peace is so scarce now. The world is in so much chaos. And I mean, creation is groaning, is screaming for the manifestation of what's inside of us, the Holy Spirit. And I like what you said about bringing people back to peace. I can see you being the type of person that when there was conflict, that you could just come in with a smile and just, hey, why are we like this? That you have great conflict resolution skills, but it's a gift. Leadership is a gift for you. For some people, it's something that they do, something that they learn, something that they like to do. Because some people like to be a boss, but they're not a good leader. They're good at bossing people around. But leadership truly comes from the heart. And I think that's why I get upset when I see people that are leaders and they do their people some kind of way. You forget that they're still grown, that they're still people, that they're just there working for you, but you still have to treat them with some value and some respect. So in April, you were on the Shawn Fair Leadership Tour.
Yes.
And you talked about how you were healed from stage 3 cancer. So I was able to see your presentation. It was so powerful. And for people that's watching, might have seen just a little bit on my page. So tonight, just share a little bit about your testimony, about God healing you from stage 3 cancer.
He did. 2009 started off like any other year. You're going to go and lose weight and do all of that by January 5th. That's all the thing in the past. And then my mother, ended up having a stroke in 2009, a mild stroke. So we, helped her through that process, along with the prayers. And we were so thankful for that. And then I said, my birthday is coming up in April, and I need to make sure that everything is okay with me. I went and had that yearly appointment. That yearly appointment that we all must keep, ladies. Okay. And it came back abnormal. I then went to another specialist. She said, I need to send you to an oncologist. At the end of the day, the results came back that I was diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer, high grade, papillary serous carcinoma of the cervix. No symptoms, zero symptoms, no abnormalities, nothing out of the ordinary, no extra types of warnings in my body, every month or anything like that. Absolutely nothing. And then more research from me showed that, cervical cancer can be a silent killer, almost like high blood pressure, that you can have it, not know that you have it. And then some people, end up having a stroke. Um, and they wanted me to have surgery. Like as a matter of fact, they didn't even tell me what I was diagnosed with. I received a phone call telling me that my surgery was scheduled a few days later. I said, surgery for what? And then that's when they told me, no one told you. I said, told me what? Maybe now would be a good time. And that's when they told me, oh no. And I said, whoa, that shouldn't be coming from your mouth. You're the hospital. They said, ma'am, you have stage 3 cervical cancer, high grade. And it is vicious. It is the most vicious form of cervical cancer you can have. And this is the type that if it continues to grow and attaches itself to your internal organs, they won't even open you up. And then I said, what? Do you have the right person? And I told him who I was. I gave him my date of birth. And I said, are you calling the right person? And I told him who my doctor was and all of that. They said, ma'am, we know exactly who we're calling. And so I said, well, I want an appointment with the doctor and I'm not taking off work. I know he'll be there tomorrow night late. I'm going to bring someone with me just to take note, but I will see him that night. And he apologized profusely. The hospital did. And he did tell me, he said, if it attaches itself to your internal organs, I've not in my 30 years seen anyone survive. So I said, well, you haven't met me before. And I said, how can something this deadly be growing in my body and I not have a symptom? He said, you're rare, but it does happen with this type of cancer. I said, I want a second opinion. Well, I wouldn't have that second opinion. They did their own independent pathological report. And that man came back to me and he called me into his office. He said, let me tell you something. You need to have surgery and you need to have it soon. He said, because not only is it, contained in this one area, but we already see the spreading in the entire area. He said, so since the first report, we already see spots and we didn't check those other spots, but it's a sure sign that it has already spread it. So I then said, well, I just need time. He said, you don't have time. He said, if you take the time, you could die. I said, that's death sentence number 2. The first guy gave me the death sentence too. I said, but I do need to take some time. He said, time is what you don't have. I went into prayer. And I fasted. On the 3rd day of that fast is when the Lord told me, this is not unto death. He said, you shall live and not die, and it will never return again. And he said, and I've called you into the ministry. And he gave me that whole thing on that. And I said, aha, that's what the enemy was after. At that point, my fast was over. I got up, I was ready to eat. I let out a praise that woke up the whole neighborhood. I know I did. And that's when I knew that I went back to the doctor and told him, well, it looks like I will not be having that surgery in 3 days. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, because I said, I've gone to the chief physician and he said, it's not unto death. So I can wait. My son goes to camp on June 29th. I know this is May, something like May 15th or May 20th. I don't know. It was a whole month and a half, well before I wanted to have the surgery. He said, a month and a half. He said, do you realize you need to have this surgery in the next couple of days? And then I said, not according to the chief physician. He said, you went over my head? I said, I went over all of our heads. He said, oh, you went, oh, okay. He got it then. So needless to say, I followed the chief physician's instructions and I had the surgery on June 29th. And here I am today, 11 years later. And give God all the praise. That's it in short.
Lisa, that story is amazing. You know
Thank
what
you.
I got, if one takeaway, if nothing else, your level of faith in Christ. Because if God had told me I was going to live and die, I still would have been like, let's hurry up, let's have this surgery. But because you took him at his word, you like,
Yeah.
I have all the time of a lifetime. So
Yeah.
you right there show God with your works that, Lord, I believe what you said,
That's
and I'm
right.
going to react and I'm going to move according to what you have told me. Now
Yeah.
now listen, everyone, that's not how everybody moves. You
Right.
have to know your relationship with God, like Lisa knew,
Yes.
and you have
Yeah.
to know your faith level with God. It has to be at a certain level for God to just speak to you, and all that fear, that anxiety, get this thing out my body,
Yeah.
that it just, you went to a level of peace. How are
Yeah.
you going to restore peace in other people unless you have experienced it yourself? It took a high level of peace to be able to say,
Yeah.
the doctor is telling me every day this is spreading in
Yes.
my body, but yet and
Yes.
still I'm about to delay the surgery. Just like with Lazarus, how
Yeah.
when God didn't rush when they told him Lazarus sick, they really need you. He didn't move until Lazarus was dead, and he was like,
Till it
okay,
was
y'all,
dead.
let's go.
Yeah.
And that's how it was with you. You had that level of faith that, look, God is going to God has resurrected me from this 2 death sentence that this doctor has given me. So Lisa,
Look
your
at God.
testimony is powerful. It let us all know that we need to have that level of faith when God tells us you're going to live and not die. That you
Yes.
walk in that. You walk
Yes.
in that. I don't think you know how powerful that was, and how when you tell your testimony, so many things go through people's head that they're believing God for, that they heard
Yes.
God say. And you know
Yes.
what? You just encouraged me to start walking more in faith. When God said it, I'm
He
going to
says
walk
it.
like I know it's going to happen.
Yes. And let me tell you, just before that, my first lady on Sunday, the Mother's Day, actually, because I got the diagnosis, or all these testing was done in April. So my birthday had already passed, my mother's birthday, and I still was at peace. And so then, but I was at a peace that was just unreal. It was something I had never experienced before. So on Mother's Day, my first lady was ministering, and then she just stopped and said, hold on. You know what? It's just something going on in the atmosphere. Do you know that God will give you a peace that passes all understanding? I go to a mega church, so I stood up in front of 5,000 people and said, that's me. I am at that peace. She's talking about me. And then I looked around and said, oh, okay, oops. And everybody was looking around like, okay, okay. And my first lady said, well, somebody is a witness out there. And it was me, because I just kept saying, Lord, what's going on? Why am I at this place of tranquility that it is so beyond my understanding that it was like I was floating on a cloud and couldn't explain it? That's the best way I can, as if somebody had just took a whole bed of cotton and laid me on it and was just allowing me to walk around in it. And I couldn't, and so then the scripture came to me, God will give you that peace that passes all understanding. It wasn't until she said it that I was like, yes, that's what it is. So what he was doing was preparing me. He was already preparing me to hear the news, because he had already had me in that peace, that state of peace, for a whole month before I got the diagnosis. So because I knew that something was going on in me, that I couldn't explain it as far as peace, then when the news came, it was like, this is what you were preparing me for. Okay. Now I'm not going to lie. For a second, when she first said it, I was like, cancer? Me? No. And in my intellect, it didn't make sense, because no woman in my family ever had cancer. Nothing. And then here's the thing. Because my mother had just come home from rehab from after having her stroke, I didn't want to tell her. So I didn't. So I was keeping that. The first person I called was my ex-husband. And, and he said, well, I'm on my way. I said, well, no, don't come now. We were very good friends. He was in California on a job. And I said, no, if you come right now, then our son will know something. Our son had just received a prestigious, a scholarship to attend Cranbrook Kingswood, here in Bloomfield Hills. And it's a boarding school. So this was his first year. So I didn't want to come in the way of his studies. He was about to take his finals in a couple of weeks, or in a few weeks. And I said, well, my son doesn't take his finals until June 9th. His dad is not supposed to be here till June 8th. I have an employee who's leaving to go on an overseas tour, at the end of May. I said, my son goes to camp June 29th. I can't have this surgery until June 29th because it's just interfering with everything going on with me. So no, I can't have it. And then here you go again. Here I am, this woman who's going through her own, but still trying to carry the weight of everyone else and caring for them over what I was going through. And that's one thing I had to learn to be careful of in this too.
Yeah, we're good at that as women. But during this journey too, how much weight have you lost?
So after that, and
I had to
because,
throw that in.
yeah, because I thought, cancer, the doctor told me that cancer, I said, where did all this come from? I was a heavy soy eater. And I was told no longer eat soy because it was an estrogen positive cancer. And soy has a tendency to produce estrogen. That's what some studies have said. There are some people who are pros and cons about that, but my doctor is very studied in that. And so it wasn't until 2 years later that I said, I need help. Even though I had started eating more healthier, I still was eating large quantities. So I needed help. And so I did resort to the bariatric sleeve procedure. For the first 2.5 years, I lost over 100 pounds. And then for 5 years, there was a lull. And these last 2.5 years, so this has been a 10-year journey, I have lost 199 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I have about another 34 pounds to go.
What you trying to get down to 110?
Oh. Whoa, not that small.
No, you are beautiful as
Thank
you
you
are.
so
I mean,
much.
she shares all the time on Facebook her before pictures and her now. She's just beautiful,
Thank
beautiful all the
you.
way down, and
Thank
I
you.
love your weight loss journey. I have just been struggling for years just to get like 20 pounds off. So I can't
Yeah.
imagine, like you said, it's been a 10-year journey. I totally understand. So you're scheduled to speak on Les Brown's platform soon.
Wow.
What was it like to train with Les Brown? Les
Oh,
Brown
can you
is,
imagine?
oh, girl,
Pinch
I
me.
can't.
Pinch me.
Inch.
Will you pinch me? I am still in awe of this. Let me tell you, I had an opportunity to get on one of his coaching calls, as one of those complimentary type things, just to see if you want to do this. And then I thought, wait a minute, Les Brown himself is doing the coaching? And I said, this can't be like every week. I mean, somebody got to tell me something, because here these people are, saying their speeches of 3-minute speeches in front of Les Brown, and he is giving them live critique. And I'm going, or he's retaking their story and saying, can I have a shot at your story? And then he does it in the Les Brown fashion. And I'm saying, okay, how do I sign up? What do I do? What do I do to do this? And so I didn't sign up immediately, but I've always followed Les Brown since I was a little girl. Always followed him. Oh my gosh, when I first heard him, I said, who is that man? And I followed him ever since. So I then said, it's time. It's time. It's time to do this. There is no better person, because after doing the Shawn Fair Leadership Experience Tour, I knew that this was going places. Shawn has an outstanding platform to kind of catapult you and to get those juices flowing, that interest going, and then you seeing that, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to be. So I said, well, there is no other person better to train with, other than Shawn. You had Shawn, but then now I have to go to who is the most renowned, most revered, most well sought after and respected speaker, motivational speaker in the world, Les Brown. Les Brown. And then I said, wait, you had that opportunity before. Go back to your email traffic, sign up. And let me tell you, it has been awesome. It has been amazing. All of the information that he's sharing, he is not holding back anything. I'm telling you now, sign up to Powered Voice, coaching right now, because Les Brown holds back nothing. The lessons every week are powerful. He gives you your contract. He gives you scripts. He tells you how to say things, what to say, but you come in your own way, and he'll really help you work through that. So, and he holds nothing back. I'm telling you, he holds nothing back. He gives you way more than you ever thought. And he's on hour call every week for a minimum of the hour, but he always goes over. He always goes over because he's always pouring value. So he teaches in the first part for a few moments. He'll give a teaching lesson. And then he goes into now critiquing people on their speeches. So we have to give speeches. And if you don't do it on the weekly call, then you submit your video to a particular, in our group. And then Les Brown and John Tallarico, who is my other coach and guru, John Tallarico, they're the only two that see your speech, and they're the only two giving you feedback.
That is
so
awesome.
You get it in writing or you get it in person. It is amazing. Only two people who looks at who reviews your speech, and that's when they go through and they give you line by line of critiquing. So it's the best thing I've ever done.
That is awesome, Lisa. Les Brown was my second motivational leader that I listened to. The first one I really ever heard was Earl Nightingale. That's what got started me on my journey.
Yeah.
And then I started listening to Les. I listened to every single one of his stories. I could almost repeat it. It was just something about his life when you think about how he was labeled, what he said, educable, mentally retarded. Yes. Yes. And now you look at this man that has spoke on platforms worldwide, the most sought after speaker. And I say, if he could overcome those odds just by somebody, a teacher speaking into his life, can you imagine the influence that we can have just by the words that we say? Because I'm currently training on the Shawn Leadership Tour. So I'm coming right behind you. Oh my God. It is so awesome. Shawn is so patient.
Isn't he?
Girl, that's a whole nother Zoom. So now, Lisa, I've noticed you do so many things that I don't think you have a comfort zone. You don't, it's not that, how can I put it? You don't stay in something and be like, this is it right here. I feel good doing this. You like, what can I do next? Let me get this training. Let me speak here. So what advice would you give someone who is afraid to step out of their comfort zone, that they're tired of where they're at right now, and they know they need to get out of that situation, leave that job, start that business, do something? What advice would you give them?
I would tell people if they have a prayer life, that's where you always start. Every success is a prayer success. I just truly believe that. I would never tell someone to do anything that's aside from what their purpose is. And then once you get a hold of your purpose, live your purpose on purpose. Live your purpose on purpose, which means you will then start saying no to so many more things than you ever say yes to. And I had to realize that because I'm talented, because I love to speak and teach, people want to draw on you for all of those things that relates to their purpose. But if it's not something that's lining up with what God has shown you to do, then I have learned that no is a complete sentence. And I say no. I've had friends who say, I believe that you're supposed to do this with me and do that. And then I say, that really doesn't line up with what I'm doing. It really doesn't. But if you want me to teach leadership to your students, or if you want me to do any type of motivational speaking or a counselor, I could do that. But to help you build something that you're building and it doesn't line up with what God has shown me to do, that's not where I'm to come in. So I'm very clear on where my boundaries and my margins are. Was I always clear on that? No, because I thought that it was best to do as much as I can to get the experience. And I realized, no, when you live your life on purpose, then God will make room for you to get the training you need, the resources that you need, the people in your path that will come. Listen, I'm a leadership, trainer, speaker, coach. I had to go to the person who was the world-renowned leader of all leaders in this world. And that is John Maxwell. At least I believe that. Now, there are others, of course, but who is world-renowned? So then I had to go into prayer about that. And then I said, Lord, who am I to go to? And that's when he showed me John Maxwell. And that's when I went through his process of becoming a coach, a trainer, and a speaker certified under John Maxwell. So here's what I will tell people. Once you know what your purpose is and you live your purpose on purpose, grow intentionally. Grow intentionally. John Maxwell has a book, Intentional Growth. You have to make sure that everything that you're doing, you are spending the time in your craft, learning it from all of those who are out there and who went there out there before you. I am always reading. I am always on a webinar. I am always listening to a book. I am always seeing what is new out there and better to help me grow in what I'm doing. Just before our call, I was reading some material. I was looking at, I was in a webinar. So it is always going to be, if you're passionate about it, there will be room made for you to do everything that you need to do. So in a nutshell, if you're afraid to come out of your comfort zone, find out what it is you're supposed to be doing. Because I promise you, whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, you're going to do it without ever thinking about it. It's going to, because it's so you, it's who God created you to be. And it's so natural. So as you can see, talking is mine.
So we
Trying to be
came.
succinct is something I need to work on.
Thank you. That is such great advice. You have given somebody out there that's like, Lord, what should I do? What I had a conversation with a friend just before this show, and she was like, I need to find out what I'm supposed to do. I don't
Yes.
know, but you gave somebody that first step that they needed. So we came to the end of our show. So you
Oh,
have a
so
two.
fast. Oh,
Yes,
I
it
enjoyed
was.
this.
I so enjoyed you. So you have 2 minutes to say whatever you want to say, share your contact information. People need to get in contact with you. So make sure you share your contact information and just give a 2 minute closeout, and I'll be looking at the comments and everything they said on Facebook.
Listen, first of all, I want to thank you, Kay, because, I appreciate you having this platform and then you trusting me enough that I have earned the right to be in your space and to actually, engage your audience. So thank you so very much for that. If people want to get in touch with me right now, I'm working with a web designer who is putting up getting my website together. So I'm so excited about that. So get in touch with me at my full name, Lisa Yvette Jones at gmail.com. Lisa Yvette Jones, YVETTE Jones at gmail.com. I am also on Facebook under Lisa Yvette Jones. I am on Instagram at Lisa Yvette Jones.
That's it, girl.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Excellent. So repeat your contact information again.
Lisa Yvette Jones at gmail.com. LISAYV as in Victor, ETTE Jones at gmail.com. My phone number, also my business phone number is 248-952-8122. That's 248-952-8122. We could set up a wonderful complimentary session. I will love to welcome a 30-minute complimentary session with you for a discovery session, and we could go from there.
That's
and I'm
great.
available to speak. I'm available to speak at Women's Day programs. I'm available for panels. I'm available for leadership, any type of leadership training. So that's really where I am right now. And definitely for, any type of, inspirational, motivational speaking.
That's great. And she also sells Mary Kay. So if you'll
I
look in the
am looking
top
something.
the top section of this live, I put her link up there. So if you just want to
Thank
support her
you.
in any kind of way, you can go on her site, order some Mary Kay. Look as glamorous as she looks.
Thank
So I
you.
just want to close out by saying I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. And like I said, I'm gonna give away randomly a piece of Ruby Girl jewelry, one of a kind. I see that Yvette was watching, Blair Cherie
Thank you.
was out there watching,
Thank
Deborah
you, guys.
Hardison Hill was there. Hey, Deborah, how are you? Ty Jackson, she was out there. And
Thank
Deborah says
you.
this was exciting and informative conversation. She said,
Oh, thank
"Thank
you.
you, thank you,
Thank
Deborah.
you.
Thank you so much for watching us. So this is just amazing. This was an amazing Ruby Girl Talk. Lisa, thank you so much for taking time to come and share such nuggets and give us that awesome testimony. So I want everybody to know I will be back next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Facebook Live. Yes, on my
Yes.
page, Karen Dye. So if you want to be a guest on my show, reach out to me. Just reach out, contact me on Facebook. I am so always looking for guests. It doesn't matter what you do. If you just want to sit down and just chat with me. So Lisa, I thank you so much once
Thank
again.
you. Thank
My
you.
chief encouraging officer. Did I get it right?
Chief Caring Officer, but your Chief
Chief.
Encouragement, Inspirational, and Empowerment Coach, Counselor, and Consultant.
Woo! And with that, y'all,
Okay.
good night. Thank you, Lisa. Be
Good night,
blessed.
everybody. You
Good
too.
night,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Bye bye.